Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of Wisdom Moments on K24 with me, C.J Atemo, the Sage. Hope that they are beneficial to you, all these sessions. Of course, we're getting the feedback, but I still want to get more of your feedback. You know, what is it that you'd want us to talk about? What is it that has impacted you the most? Is there something that you need clarification about? And I would be so glad to hear from you. So follow me on my social media platform, CJ Atemo, everywhere, including subscribing to the YouTube channel, CJ Atemo, and get in touch. If you've got to do mail, it is cjatesol@gmail.com. Small cases, all of those letters, cjatesol@gmail.com. Well, still coming to you gladly from the 67 Airport Hotel, finding a place over here where they're becoming the home to the Wisdom Moments on K24 with Miss C.J Atemo. But it's a lovely place, very beautiful ambience, serene environment. It is about 6 kilometers away from the airport, so even those of you who are traveling or just coming in and you need to be in the city quickly and shortly, you would find this to be a very convenient place for you, for work, for conference, for family, for fun, for leisure, all that and more right here at the 67 Airport Hotel. Well, we've been talking about change, and the first day I talked about why change is not easy, and I talked about the fear of change, that some people will not flow with the change because they fear it. They think that they will become victims of it. And then I did talk about the illusion of change, where people have believed before that there would be change. They had had expectations, which were very high probably. They exerted their energy. They invested themselves emotionally, financially, whichever way, mentally, intellectually, and then it did not happen. And mostly because they realized that it wasn't that serious, that the people who promised the change or the people who said they were part of the change didn't mean it. So they just get into the place where they feel change is an illusion, either because they feel betrayed or this has never worked. So they say, look, let's never try to change anything again, or don't ever talk to me about change again. Let's just keep things the way they are and life will be easier like that. They do that because they think it's an illusion, and it's also a way just to protect themselves from being frustrated as well. But today I want to talk about the third one, which is the cost of change. See, several years ago, quite a number of years ago, when my first son was still little, we felt that we needed to move into a bigger house. So because we had quite a number of factors and dynamics around it, so we felt we needed to move into a bigger house that would accommodate more people as well. So we looked for a place, and we shifted just before schools were reopened for the second term. It was a very beautiful house. It was perfectly what I needed at that particular point. It had the space, it had the ambience, it had the serenity that I wanted. It was just what I had dreamt of, and even more. But what I had not factored in was the issue of the school for my son. I thought it was automatic, that just the way I easily found a school in the place where I lived, I would find another in the place where we were moving to. So I didn't think that shifting or moving just a few days to the reopening of the school, and especially in the second term, would be any big deal. Well, when we moved into that place, it took us quite a while, nearly a whole week, trying to find a school. By that time, students were already back to school. And when we found one that we were comfortable with, it was quite a huge distance away from the house. It meant that my son would have to wake up very early, about 2 hours earlier than he would wake up in the former house. And he would come back home about 2 hours later than the time he used to come before. What that meant was that his time with us had been cut. The amount of time he would spend in the house, he used to love playing music and watching music, that was cut. And then he had to go to bed early. So when he would come home, he would do his homework and have to go to bed early and wake up early. So he no longer would see the sun from our house. We never factored in the cost of that change. And I can tell you the effect was adverse, because we didn't think that this was going to be the cost of moving into the next place. Probably if I was given the same opportunity right now, I would think better around that. This is exactly what happens to many of us as well, and why some people will never want to implement change because they feel it costs too much. Sometimes also because they feel that nobody has factored in the cost. When we talk about cost, we mostly will think about the financial implication of that cost, but it's not always true. Moving a business from a place where it is right now to a different place may mean that you're going to lose customers. It depends on accessibility. It depends on convenience. It depends on what exactly you are offering them. If they walk into your shop, probably because it is close and convenient and it is the place where they want to pick up stuff before they get to their houses. If you move farther, you may move into a bigger space, larger space, but then you lose that. So you may be able to afford the next place that you have gone into, but there's an aspect that you have lost, which is the people who walk in and why you are really relevant to the people who are around you. Sometimes just moving means that you also lose certain amenities as well. We normally, rarely take into consideration the cost of change. And sometimes when we have changed things, we realize that it is costing us more emotionally, mentally, sometimes in training, intellectually. Sometimes you begin to deal with things like mental wellness. People who are getting into states of depression, people who are going through turmoil, people who are in spaces where they're emotionally breaking down, like my son was, and I had to let him not go to school for nearly 4 days so that his mind could synchronize with the new environment and the new place. And I started driving him to school and not let him use the school bus just to help him go through the process, because even though we could afford it financially, we had not factored it in emotionally to the boy. And sometimes change then becomes very difficult. You can actually move with everybody, and everybody can say, well, let's do it. But then with time, you begin to realize that there are certain things that are lost, that are making people not get excited about that change anymore, because they're probably losing the touch, the friendship. Even growth, ladies and gentlemen, can pose this challenge to you, where people begin to lose the sense of personal touch just because you're growing. And maybe that is one of the things that they really loved about being around you and working for you. And when they begin to see that the sense of the personal touch is leaving them, they begin to feel a negative impact of that particular change. So you may not get the best out of them. You may not get the highest productivity. They may not wake up excited to come to work. They may not get up excited to come and be part of the team, because something else has shifted. It no longer represents what it represented to them before, and it may not be monetary. Sometimes people will even walk out of jobs when they're being paid well, but because somehow they've emotionally been disconnected, or certain changes have just represented a higher cost than they were prepared to take, and so they're not excited about it. Sometimes, therefore, people will not be willing to change because of the cost of that change. So you may say they're traditional, they're not moving, they're static, but sometimes they have greater considerations like the cost, and it's not always about the money. If you can factor in the cost, you can implement the change probably better, because cost management is change management. This has been Wisdom Moment on K24 with me, C.J Atemo. Till the next time, keep it right here.